Okay, let's get started. This is the Repeatable DB creation demo for July 28th. Start off with a discussion. We have some new sandbox environments that we created to allow more people to work simultaneously. The way this works is we just assign each of us to a sandbox, and then that allows you to have like your own project and your own infrastructure. It's statically configured, so it's not very dynamic, but so now we have a new pipeline on ops where we have a list of environments and then a manual trigger that triggers the provisioning of the environment and also the teardown. So for example, like I'm using alpha, Alejandro's using beta, and then if we want to like run configuration changes in CI, we can do that separately. Number two, I've started to document the limitations for get and PG bouncer. This is just an FYI if you want to take a look. This was sort of the first roadblock that we encountered so far in the project. I've also scoped out the work for the Ansible configuration epic. So I think most of the issues are there. I've currently like thinking around like 70% confidence that this whole project will be done by September 17th. And for what's next, I think next week we can probably demo, I'm hoping we can demo a full Patroni cluster, but we'll see how it goes. And for this week's demo, I'm going to hand it over to Alejandro, who's going to demo the Ansible configured console.
All right, let me set up screen sharing here. Yeah, so as I was saying, this week we tried our first Ansible configure service. We chose console because it's the simplest, it doesn't have dependencies. We can start it on its own. So we have a pipeline like the one that Jar was saying. We have a child pipeline for each project, and each child pipeline, this is what we demonstrated on the last demo. We now have Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply. And I kicked those off to save us some time because we've already demoed this. This will create the VMs, which are currently 3 consoles, 1 PG bouncer, 2 Postgres. And so what we're going to demo right now is configuring those boxes with Ansible. So if I SSH into one of those boxes right now, I think they don't have Omnibus GitLab or anything. So I think they do have Omnibus GitLab because otherwise it would have given me command of R, but there's no service configure. Let's see, is there an etc GitLab RB? There is one. It's the placeholder one. So what we will do is kick off the SP beta console workshop, which will run from CI the Ansible playbooks that will configure all this. So we'll trigger this manual action. And this will take around, I think, 5 minutes to complete. It will install the app dependencies that is needed, then configure the GitLab RB, and then run GitLab CTL reconfigure. While that's running, I can show a little bit of what we did in the code, which is simple. We're trying to leverage get as much as we can. But the get role currently does other stuff that we're currently not interested in doing, like secret management, and there's an NFS mount that they use for secret management. So our current role is very simple: just set up the GitLab configuration file, and we use the template that comes from get, and then we just reconfigure console. But because the template that comes from get already gets the IPs of all the hosts tagged as console, then we will have the cluster running, and all of the 3 hosts that we created will hopefully be on the same cluster. So yeah, now it's installing all the dependencies. This is the part that I'm wondering right now what happened, because I was expecting that when I run GitLab CTL status, it will throw command not found error. So I'm not sure what's installing GitLab CTL
It should have
before.
just been a bare VM, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, I mean, it already installed the GitLab repository, so I have tried, but next time I start a new VM, I'll check.
Yeah.
And there was a GitLab RB, right? There was a GitLab RB template.
Yeah.
Not sure where that came either. One thing I hadn't wondered about is, does Ubuntu 18 come from Get? Is that determined on Get?
I think we passed it in. It might be the default. I don't remember, but it's something we can override in Terraform.
Okay.
Maybe I explicitly said it. I don't remember.
No, it's the default in Git.
Yeah.
It's an overhang from the nightly packages for Omnibus only being built for Ubuntu 18. That's expanded now. There is actually more with the distribution teams actually expanded that. So, but 18 is still the default. I guess there's probably will be an argument in the future to switch to 20, but you can override it in the settings. For GCP, that's relatively easy. If AWS is actually a bit harder, but it is doable as well. It's just AWS you need to actually get the disk image for the specific OS version you want, and that's what's attached to you forevermore. It's the disk image, so it's a mess. But yeah, GCP should be fine. You can change that in the Terraform settings, but don't do it on an existing environment, else it will destroy the whole thing.
There are a couple changes we're going to need. I don't know if there's an issue for this already, Grant, but to be able to pass in a subnetwork that belongs to a VPC.
Yeah.
Is there an issue for that already? I think we brought it up before.
There is one there. I raised it actually yesterday. We've been planning to do it for a while.
Okay.
Even a week or two ago, I would have been like, I don't know how fun that's going to be, but we've just landed that in a very good place for AWS because it needed it for various pieces. GCP doesn't, but we definitely want to bring over that essentially the same blueprint where AWS, the function it currently works is that you can either use the default or you can ask Get to create a VPC subnet stack, which it does, or you can pass in existing stuff. We will be bringing over to GCP, although there is no strict time limit on that. But feel free to, if you look at the issue, let's forget, you'll see it's quite high near the top because it was recently raised. Do comment on that and let me know timelines and stuff that you really need it for, and we can take a look.
It's not super urgent. We're going to need it before we peer the staging environment to like the database staging environment to the staging environment, because the subnets can't overlap. So we won't be able to use the default VPC. It needs to happen eventually. Maybe we can just also help with that if you guys are too busy. I don't think it'll be a big change.
It can be a little bit prickly because it's a change that we need to be able to make sure it's backwards compatible for existing environments.
Right,
so that's where the pain comes in, and then it's also a freeway conditional. We've got but we got it working for AWS. So the blueprint is there. You just need to essentially translate that for GCP. But it's just I mean, feel free to contribute, and then we can look at testing it and collaborating. That's not a problem. But we will, if not, we will get to eventually. There was less of an impetus for GCP because it has built-in separation concerns because of its project setup kind of design. AWS doesn't have that. AWS is just everyone's in the same pool, and that's where we were a little bit more concerned about default VPCs and stuff like that being cross-talking, you know. Whereas in GCP, you could just set up a project for each thing, but it depends on the work you're doing. Obviously, this one you're doing database stuff, so I'd understand if you're doing stuff in the same project with various stuff. So we will look to add it, but yeah, do comment on the issue, and we'll do that. We'll keep that in mind as we try and support yourself as well as Project Horse and Jihu and other initiatives.
All right, so retaking this, the job is done. So if we look at the GitLab RP, wait, did I join the, maybe I missed. Oh yeah, that explains it. I was in the wrong host. I was in Ahmad's environment. Okay, so I think if I would have run GitLab CTL status before, it would have thrown an error, so that solves that mystery. But now we should have the service running. There it is. And if we look at the GitLab RP, we can see that it has the configuration. And as I was saying, it has the IPs of all the other console nodes. So there's an API request that you can do to verify. I don't remember. Wait, I think I had it here. Yeah, it is. So if we run this API request on the local console service, yeah, we should see that it has as members the 3 console nodes that we have, that we created on the VM. So this means that we succeeded. And yeah, this is the console setup, and then what you can do later is destroy this sandbox environment and start fresh again.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, are there any questions or comments?
Get 1.1.0 is imminent. It's probably going to be either later today or tomorrow. There's been a substantial efforts to make sure that it shouldn't break anything, but if you see your images update or take the latest version of Get, you might want to do some stuff, just manually try Terraform Ansible and make sure that nothing is crazily off base. But we've checked, and hopefully everything should be fine. But yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Right now, we're just taking the bleeding edge, and
okay,
I think we're probably like every day we're taking master because we rebuild our images pretty frequently.
Yeah, that's fine. Then, yeah.
So
you won't see any problems then. Yeah.
Cool. All right. If there are no other comments, we can end the meeting. Thanks, everyone.